Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to another episode of Experience Annex. Experience Annex is a platform for role models, especially exemplary leaders, legendary entrepreneurs, and world-class professionals to share their wisdom with the world. By sharing, they make the world a better place. We are very excited to have His Royal Highness Ossai Ifeanyi on Experience Annex today. His Royal Highness, welcome to Experience Annex.
Thank you very much, Paul. It's a pleasure to be here.
It's a pleasure meeting you also because you are the first, the first royal to be on our platform, and we are very excited because you are a young man, and we hardly see royals of your age. You understand? Mostly are in the octogenarians and so on and so forth. It's like King Charles is being coronated today.
This is correct.
So it's a good coincidence that we are having an opportunity to interview you today.
It is?
Yes, on the exact day that King Charles is being coronated. All right, so permit me to read your profile for our audience.
Of course.
His Royal Highness Ambassador Ossai Ifeanyi is a distinguished leader, seasoned diplomat, and visionary entrepreneur with an extraordinary record of accomplishments spanning the realms of international diplomacy, healthcare, innovation, sustainable construction, and technology. His relentless pursuit of excellence, coupled with his diplomatic acumen and cross-industry expertise, has earned him recognition as a catalyst for change and a trailblazer in both public and private sectors. As a revered ambassador, His Royal Highness Ossai has excelled in fostering meaningful international relationships, promoting cultural understanding, and advancing global cooperation. His diplomatic prowess, combined with his innate ability to navigate complex geopolitical landscapes, has positioned him as an invaluable asset in the world of international diplomacy. In the healthcare sector, His Royal Highness Ambassador Ossai has made his mark as the co-founder and CEO, Chief Executive Officer of CribMD, a groundbreaking telemedicine and doctor house call company dedicated to democratizing access to quality healthcare in Africa. Under his leadership, CreeMD has raised $2.5 million in venture capital funding from the likes of Norskin VC, Sputnik VC, The Guardian, and Google, expanding its customer base from 0 to 9,000 within 6 months of launch, and scaled his team from just 2 founders to over 55 employees. His Royal Highness Ossai's unwavering commitment to healthcare excellence has earned him a nomination for Forbes 30 Under 30, along with numerous global awards for impact and innovation. Ossai led CribMD's acquisition of Chrisland Pharmaceuticals Group, tackling the counterfeit medication epidemic in Nigeria. He also recently spearheaded the company's efforts in signing exclusive 5-year service contracts with the likes of Awita, CEC, and Asvan, bringing in 15 million subscribers and a capital market value of over $1.5 billion. CribMD today, few months post-launch, boasts $1 million in contracted annual revenue and continues to grow rapidly and set new records. As the founder of Indigenex, His Royal Highness Ambassador Ossai has revolutionized the construction industry with a pioneering approach to construction, supply, and procurement, championing sustainable building practices and green construction. By securing multi-million contracts with the likes of major corporations like Sterling Global Oil Company and spearheading innovative projects in Nigeria, he has cemented his reputation as a leader in the field of sustainable construction. Additionally, His Royal Highness Ossai's proficiency in technology innovation has allowed him to develop state-of-the-art solutions in healthcare and construction, utilizing advancements in machine learning, artificial intelligence, and data-driven insights to propel his companies forward. In summary, his accomplishments include nominated for Forbes 30 under 30 for exceptional contributions to healthcare innovation and access, raised $2.5 million in venture capital funding from notable venture capitalist companies such as Norsken, Sputnik, Guardian Media Group, successfully led CribMD's acquisition and integration of Chrisland Pharmaceutical Group, ensuring the delivery of authentic medications to subscribers. Expanded CreeMD's footprints to every major city with a population of 500,000 plus in its market. Pioneered the use of advanced technology and data-driven insights to revolutionize construction supply and procurement through Indigenex. Spearheaded the integration of technology in CribMD, streamlining operations and improving patients' outcomes. In addition to his remarkable professional achievements, His Royal Highness Ambassador Ossai Ifeanyi is a dedicated humanitarian, committed to giving back to society and advocating for the underprivileged. His philanthropic endeavors have touched countless lives and inspired many to follow in his footsteps. His Royal Highness Ambassador Ossai Ifeanyi's unique blend of diplomatic finesse, entrepreneurial vision, and humanitarian passion has made him a prominent figure in multiple arenas, and his ongoing commitment to driving positive change and elevating the human experience will continue to leave a lasting legacy. So, we have read a very, very rich profile of yourself. Is there anything that we have left out? Is there something that probably would just like to tell our viewers?
Yeah, so originally, back in college, one thing I did venture into, though still along the line of entrepreneurship, my first venture wasn't in healthcare. My first venture was in space exploration. So we designed an electron beam freeform fabrication system to enable access to space. So essentially, we wanted to additively manufacture equipment for the space industry to make to democratize access to space, because we felt the traditional way of manufacturing aerospace tech components was prohibitive. So I and my co-founders, started that venture, and we eventually exited it by selling to Alpha. And so yeah, that was my first entrepreneurial journey prior to CribMD. And
incredible. So you were trying to, emulate, or you were even in the forefront of, ahead of the likes of Elon Musk.
Yeah, we were the original kids then, right? So all aerospace engineers inherently want to make life multiplanetary, because we recognize our inherent fragility being on Earth and having all our eggs in one basket, right? So how do we make life multiplanetary? How do we ensure that we preserve the light of consciousness in the universe, right? So that's what prompted our ventures in aerospace, to make sure that we have a cost-effective way of getting access to space.
Okay.
For anybody that wants to do that.
Yes, because so, I mean, even Elon Musk is talking about migrating to Mars and living.
No, ultimately, that should be the goal of humanity, you know?
Right. But let's just come back to Earth.
Yes.
All right. Tell us more about your background and how you became His Royal Highness.
Yeah, so you know how the old parents, you know, dad meets mom, works out, and they have a kid. Yeah, so yeah, so I am born what I am. So we're not made; we're born into the families we are born into. Dad is a king, and then, you know, so because of that, I created His Royal Highness at birth. So as his heir.
Okay,
right.
So it's
an inheritance. Okay. Yeah, so you inherit the title. So one day my kid, you know, my kids become princesses and princes, and the first one becomes my heir. Right. Okay. So.
And I mean, tell us. I mean, you are from Delta. You are from Edo. You are from Anambra. You are from where?
I am from Delta. So we are from Igbo Delta, Umbelo Kingdom. Right. Okay. So yeah. So we're from not too far from across the Niger Bridge.
Okay. Yeah. It's nearer to Asaba, the
yes.
state capital?
Yes. Okay. So we're a subquarter, like a subquarter of that region. So if you're thinking Obilo, Ela, Asaba, Ibuzo, so this is our area. This is what you kingdom. Consider.
Yeah, kingdom.
Right. So this is what you consider the Delta Igbo region.
Okay, okay. All right. So how was it growing up? Did you dream of becoming an entrepreneur, an ambassador, a philanthropist? Or
you know, growing up, there is always that pressure, knowing, like, you see your dad and he's so big, like it seems almost like this really ginormous human being, and not just because of his status in community, but think of it from like a kid's perspective. So one is your dad, one he's accomplished all these incredible things, he's gone all these places, done all these amazing things. So are you going to remain in his shadows forever, right? Are you just the son of, you know, His Majesty, or like, are you going to be somebody or something on your own, right? Not just what your father left behind, right? So growing up, I was determined that the only legacy I wanted to ultimately inherit that is linked to my father is the throne, right? You know, serving our people, because ultimately that is what we are. We are servants of the people, right? And I am honored to continue that tradition, inheriting the throne and beyond, ascending the throne one day. I wanted to carve my own part in this life, to make my own way, to pave, you know, to have my own unique journey, right? So that means creating things that are useful to people, that serve the need of the masses, building things that people want, things that matter, right? How? So looking into my environment to say, okay, what is the problem? How can we solve it without necessarily depending on government or international agencies or aid, right? What can we do? What is a minimum viable product we can build, and how do we start? So that is how I started my early entrepreneurial journey, because I believe if I can build something everybody wants and make it cheap enough and the quality is exceptional, I believe there is a market for such products, right? So
okay,
from a right...
We'll still come back to that, but there's something that how does or did your parents encourage you along the way?
Encouraging you along the way. So I think they were instrumentally helpful, right? So they sent me to the best schools around the world, to boarding schools, to Pittsburgh, to literally the best schools around the globe, right? So yeah. They were exceptional enablers. They supported my vision, especially my mom, right? So, you know, dad sort of have an idea of what he wants you to be and do, right? So, but my mom was more, you know, free-spirited in that sense, knowing that just because you're the son of a carpenter doesn't mean you have to be a carpenter, right? So you can carve your own parts. Right, so my mom was more encouraging in that sense. That's not to say dad wasn't pro-education, because the man, like, he would literally spend his last penny to make sure he went to the best university. If he was on the moon, he'll make it happen, right? So yeah, they were incredibly supportive, but mom more so than that. Okay,
so I mean, you are very cerebral. I've spoken with you, and you speak just like a prince. So you speak so well. You've attended a high-profile Ivy League schools like Harvard and Stanford, Pittsburgh. At what point did you feel the tug to switch from maybe academic pursuits to entrepreneurship or business?
Yeah, so about that. So I went to school to acquire specific skills that I believe will be essential in business, right? So I always believe in creating things people want, in building things that add value to the human experience. So I saw school as a means to an end, as getting the right training, the right education pedigree to achieving a goal, right? So my first venture was launched when I was in college with my co-founders, right? So I always believed in entrepreneurship. I always believe in young people making a way, building technology that help people.
Okay, so education is just a means to an end.
It truly was for me. Yeah, so I have a lot of friends who are academics, right, who have their PhDs. I do not have my PhD yet, so perhaps someday, but I truly believed education was a means to an end, acquiring practical knowledge that I can use to make life better.
Like, use it to elevate society. And
correct.
All right, so there's something here. Just before we go deep into the other aspects of what you do, tell us how you are foray into international diplomacy.
Right. So being born a prince, or being created a prince, you are pretty much expected to play a specific role in community, right? So by default, your role becomes settling disputes, making sure there is peace and order in the community, and making sure that there is prosperity. Right, so you go beyond that. So it can either be at, obviously they say charity starts at home, right? So you start from your home, you extend it to your street, then to your kingdom, then to your states, your country, and eventually the whole world, right? So today I'm an ambassador for the UN Institute of Economics and Peace, right? Promoting peace around the world, making sure that we are able to steer and guide humanity along for at least the next 100 years, because if you remember, just last century, or the beginning of the last century, to the middle of it, was rocked by war, and then we didn't have atomic weapons and all these things. If those things were to repeat itself in this day and age, we'll be in deep soup. So as a prince, it's my divine responsibility, I see it as, or task that we've been assigned to promote peace and unity amongst humanity.
Okay.
So
you are an ambassador.
Correct.
Okay. So were you appointed by the Nigerian government, or what do you do as an ambassador?
Wow, so as an ambassador, your job really is representing your organization, your country, in this case the Institute of Economics and Peace, right? So you promote peace around the world, you attend to disputes wherever they arise, whether it's in Chad, Nigeria, Sudan, wherever it is, right? So you figure out a way to implement positive peace projects, right? That ultimately makes life safer and more prosperous for everyone. So that essentially is our charter.
Okay, so you are an ambassador, you are a diplomat, and you are also into telemedicine.
Correct.
So tell us, what exactly is telemedicine?
Well, so telemedicine is basically seeing your doctor through technology, in simple words. So for us, for CribMD, for example, you simply push a button on your phone and your doctor will see you through video call, or we can send you a doctor physically to come to your home, right, to take care of you, like hi, and you're sitting down today, right? So that is what technology, that's what we're trying to do with CribMD through technology, is being able to deliver care at the comfort and safety of your home, so you don't have to fight traffic. Like just being in Lagos traffic alone, for example, you spend hours just trying to go to the hospital, right? Or so we bring the doctor to you instead of congesting hospital rooms, so hospitals can be freed up for really emergency cases. And majority of the things people will go to the hospital for are not emergencies. So for those things, we can take care of you at home and free up the healthcare system to focus on emergencies.
Okay. So you are a pioneer in this area, and you are the co-founder of a telemedicine company called CreeMD.
This is correct.
What is So tell us about CribMD.
Yeah, so at CribMD, our goal is to democratize access to quality and affordable healthcare using technology, especially in Africa, where access to quality healthcare is in short supply. Right? So far, we have over 5,000 doctors on our platform. We have over 9,000 paying beta subscribers. We recently signed on Awita, CC, and Asvan, and by the time this year is over, we would have onboarded over 1 million people, with the goal of onboarding their total 15 million members by Q3 next year. We're also backed by prominent investors such as Google, Norskin, Sputnik, and the rest of them, right? And a few notable angels, right? So that's a brief summary of what we do. We are available in all 36 states of the Federation and the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja, and yeah.
Are you available in all the 36 states?
We are.
And Abuja?
Correct.
Okay. And I mean, how did the idea of CribMD come about, noting that it might not be as lucrative as oil and gas, IT? I mean, how did you choose that, CribMD?
Okay, so it's really an unfortunate story, really. It's something that began in childhood. When my aunt was visiting Nigeria when I was a boy, my favorite aunt, she died from an allergic reaction because she couldn't get care on time, right? And I think the first 2 hospitals or clinics that they went to, they didn't have anything on the shelf, like literally nothing. And she ended up dying. If she was in the United States, where she lives, or in Europe, or Asia, literally anywhere else in the world, she would still be with us today, right? And that really stuck with me. And you notice growing up that when you talk to Nigerians abroad, they've lost countless family members in the same fashion within the country. A very good friend of mine, really a prominent figure in the Nigerian society, died not so long ago in Abuja because of similar issues, right? And our own investor at Sputnik, Joe Merrill, his son almost died in Nigeria while he was a diplomat for the United States government posted here because of also access to healthcare, which is one of the reasons Sputnik invested in CribMD, right? Because we're solving a huge challenge that touches almost everybody in this country, right? So that is how the idea came about. So it's something that happened when I was a child and something I always wanted to fix. I always saw as my duty to address, right? I always thought it is paramount that this is addressed for the sake of, not just for the memory of my aunt, and for everybody else, so it doesn't happen to anybody else.
Tegretol. It was a drug for, I think it's for pain arising from PHN, post-hemorrhagic whatever. And I really reacted to the drug that really killed me. So this, I think this is where CribMD really comes in.
Correct.
And CribMD has raised, you are the co-founder, he has raised about $2.5 million, which is like a stamp of approval that is an idea whose time has come. So, I mean, listening to all the people that would be interested in raising funds from the venture capitalists. So tell our viewers about the process of raising venture capital.
The process of raising venture
capital from VCs.
Yeah, so the process of raising capital from VCs.
Just being brief.
Yeah, I guess it really starts with, first, do you have a product users want, right? Do you have demonstrable traction, right? Do you have anything to show? Do you have an MVP for your product, right? Say you're trying to build something that connects plumbers together, right? So you may not have the whole thing, but do you have like at least an MVP you can show your investors and your initial customers can try, right? If you are able to show that initial traction, because the cost of making technology products is so little these days, right? You can start, then you can go to an accelerator and pitch them, right? And then from that, they can introduce you to different VCs, and if your product is good and if you have good traction, you can pretty much choose which VC you want to work with, right? So it's quite a journey. It's not something that happens overnight. So it may take you, so if you want to raise your pre-seed round or like a seed round, for example, it may take you maybe 2 to 3 months, right? So, but you do have to work on those conversations with those VCs, build the relationship, because you're getting in bed with them for a very long time, at the very least 3 years or so before a meaningful exit event can happen. Yes. So it's paramount to select carefully, not just you can't take money from anybody throwing it at you. You have to make sure that your interests are aligned.
Okay, interesting. For our viewers out there, MVP is minimum viable product.
Correct. Yes.
And this is a venture capital. All right. So you must have a minimum viable product that people can see and people are interested, and like you said, has gathered traction. So people, the VC just comes in to
boost it. Yes.
Boost it. Okay. For people listening to us here in Nigeria, 2.5 million is very big. It might be small in America, but it's very big here. I mean, we're talking about more than almost a 2 billion naira. And so it's, as I said, it's a stamp of approval. So what is CribMD actually doing to raise awareness about its business operations and get more Nigerians to sign up? For instance, I've only heard about CribMD only once. I think I read it somewhere in the newspaper until recently. So what are you doing to raise awareness about your operation services?
Yeah, so we focused on a few different customer acquisition channels to raise awareness. So one, obviously every time there's a notable event, like we make an acquisition or we raise funds, probably that's when you hear about us in the news. But beyond that, we work with community organizers. Our teams work with market women, work with schools, right? We through events and we raise awareness in different communities, right? So we do not do major billboards advertising yet, because we had been in our public, beta phase. We had not launched fully to the entire public, right? So we were in a beta. So we strategically picked the communities we want to grant access to test the product first and subscribe, and the organizations like Just Foods, and The Guardian and the rest of them that were RCCG, that were our initial corporate customers, right? So we granted different organizations access to test the products before we launched major, to make sure that all bugs, all complaints, everything is taken care of, so the experience can be as smooth as possible for everyone, right? Yeah.
Okay, so it's like you're operating like an NGO. Because you said some of the companies that you first maybe approached is RCCG, that's Redeemed Christian.
Correct.
And Market Women or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. So you recently acquired Chrisland Pharmaceuticals Group,
mm-hmm.
To tackle the problem of counterfeit medication epidemic in Nigeria. How big is this problem of counterfeit drugs?
So I'll answer the question first, addressing an earlier comment you made. So we're not an NGO. RCCG pays us, and the market women pay us because they're not in the formal sector. The formal health insurance sector tend to overlook them. So our goal being democratizing access to healthcare, we approach those that are most in need, the underserved, right? We focus on them. So an NGO in a sense, but we also make money, right? So just to clear that up. But the counterfeit medication epidemic, it's actually very huge. According to a report, nearly 70% of the medications in circulation in the country at like various times, samples done randomly are counterfeit, right? Which is a really big problem. So for us as an operator, how do we make sure that our customers, our subscribers are safe? How do we make sure that they get the care they need? So there was no way to ensure that either through partnership with other pharmaceutical companies or any other thing other than us owning the complete supply chain for it, from knowing where it is manufactured, the batch, tracking it down to when it comes to a pharmacy, and then when we give it to our dispatcher riders to deliver to the homes of our patients, right? So that was why we acquired Chrisland Pharmaceutical Group to tackle this problem. Just to put money figure, this problem alone in malaria-related like subcategory cost the Nigerian government or the Nigerian economy over $1 billion a year.
Counterfeit drugs.
Yes.
Counterfeit drugs.
So it's a really huge, like really huge problem. And I think over the last few years, NASDAQ have really done a lot to sort of combat this to some degree. But they've also, the perpetrators of this heinous crime have also gotten smarter, right? So the best way to really make sure that our customers get the very best is to ensure we control the entire supply chain.
So, you talk about 70% of counterfeit drugs. It's quite huge. I'm sure that even like places like maybe huge cities like Onitsha and Bar.
That's where they come from.
Uyo, and so it's something that you are doing a noble job.
Thank you.
Say, and because anyway, let's not go into that because we hear people putting starch in in capsules and selling to people. All right, so. There's something that CribMD is also spearheading efforts to sign up exclusive service contracts with Awita, CEC, and ASVAN. What exactly do these companies do, and how will the contracts boost CribMD's services?
Well, so that's a very good question. So both ASVAN, CEC, and Awita are groups representing the underserved in the Nigerian economy. So think of it like informal sector workers, like your market women all over Nigeria, your artisan workers like carpenters, plumbers, right? So because these people do not have formal employment, they're not employed by Dangote or another big brand, right? So they often go unnoticed, underrepresented. The big insurance companies will not approach them to offer care, right? And even if they did, they will only get insurance. They say have to go to the hospitals and all of that. So what we did at CribMD was say, okay, what are these groups? What are these most vulnerable groups? How can we target them? How can we reach them? We found that a very effective way of doing that is through their trade unions, right? So signing these unions up. Making sure we educate them, we give them everything they need to take care of their customers and onboard them, through exclusive agreements, and then, they pay nominal monthly subscriptions, right? And for the lifetime of the contract, we take care of their members. In terms of how it helps CribMD, it helps us in two ways. One, it provides, like from the data we get, we're able to fine-tune our system, our AI and ML technologies to better be able to, get better in terms of offering predictive insights to our customers before an healthcare emergency happens for them, right? Thereby reducing costs and also reducing distress for our customers. We're able to do automatic, cancer detections, and among other things, our technology is able to do through our work with Google, right? So that's how it benefits us. Also, it's a huge, significant revenue boost for us, right? So, from the subscriptions.
All right, so because it's really, they say less than 3% of Nigerians have
access to health insurance.
Even access to insurance.
Correct.
Yes, generally, not even talk about health insurance, less than 3%. So, and they're not looking at even really the informal sector.
Correct.
The artisans.
These are like overlooked entirely.
Yes, they are not, they don't have access. So this is, I believe that is a brilliant idea. And so let's move ahead. And you're also the founder or co-founder of Indigenex.
Correct.
It's a construction company.
Yes.
And you are pioneering what you call
green construction.
Green construction and things like that, building sustainable businesses and cities. Can you shed a little light on green construction?
Yeah, so green construction is basically, so think of it like using sustainable materials, using sustainable construction technologies that do not pollute the environment, that do not, poison the environment in the cost of building structures for you today, make life, worse for our children tomorrow, right? So putting those unique practices in place and championing them, I believe, is very critical because our world is reaching an inflection point with global warming and everything. So if we don't take proactive measure to, be conscious of the way we build, of the way we consume, of the way we do a lot of things. It may not necessarily affect us, but what about our children, right? So this is what we at Indigenous are doing, because Africa is underbuilt, right? And as Asia's construction boom is gradually coming to an end, Africa and the rest of the not so developed world will be following suit, right? So as that happens, we want to make sure that the right practices, the right way of thinking is in place, and that's why we started Indigenous, to build Africa for Africans by Africans in a sustainable fashion.
Okay. So the name of the company, is it Indigenous or Indigenous?
So it's Indigenous, so Indigenous Exploration Technologies. So
okay.
Essentially an Africa built by Indigens for Indigens, by Indigens.
Okay. All right. So that is green revolution, green technologies. We have a global warming and a lot of things taking place. So I think that is also a brilliant from your. Going to trying to. There's a lot of pollution and a lot of things that really making the environment uninhabitable, especially in Africa.
Correct.
We got the firewood. We have the desert encroachment. So we have the farmers' headers clashes. Part of it.
Oh yeah.
All right. So let's move on. Let's move ahead. You are also into oil and gas.
This is correct.
You providing services for major oil and gas corporations like Sterling Global Oil Company. Can you elaborate on the services your company provides to the oil and gas sector?
So things like spillage cleaning, we do pipeline supply. We do also pipeline cleaning and servicing, right? So we also supply the pipeline they need for constructing their service channels and everything else they do. We also help them develop new oil fields, right? Like in the south, where we're helping Sterling with their work on developing a new oil block, right? So we do basically maintenance, construction, and equipment supply for these oil companies.
Oil companies, okay. So you're just not a small company, because this Sterling is quite a huge company.
Oh yeah, they're multi
into the, what you call the OMLs.
Correct. So
oil mining leases.
So they have a few oil mining blocks in the country.
Blocks, okay. Yeah. So it's not it's not for anybody cannot just dabble into it. It's a huge business.
It is.
Yeah. All right.
We're lucky to have them as a customer, and they're very happy with our services, and we're very happy with their performance.
So when did you start this oil business? Did it come before the CribMD, or which came first?
So we've been in supply and construction line of business for quite a number of years. So it came first, definitely. CribMD. Yes.
Okay. So maybe it's the profit they are making from this. You need to set up CribMD.
Yeah.
All right.
Yes.
What is your business philosophy, and how do you select areas of business to go into? So really there are two questions there: business philosophy, and which areas, how do you select areas to go into?
Right. So business philosophy, build things that users want.
Build things that users want.
Yes.
Okay.
So
I thought its first is to make a lot of profits.
I think if you follow the right principles, the profit will come. Yes, the end goal of all businesses is to make profit. There's no denying that. It's not like we're going to sit here and lie to your viewers that profit is not important, okay. Right? So it is a business. Yes, the end goal is to make profit, right? But before profit, right, you have to. How are you helping your customers? How are you helping those that you serve? Are you building something they truly want? Is your product impacting their life? I think that is the first principle. Like, that is the basic thing you have to think about. If I am starting, I say I want to start a business that just cuts down firewood in the forest. I'm pretty sure you can see somebody that way buy the firewood from you, but does that really help anybody, right? So I think knowing that you're solving a major problem in a sustainable way, I think is the first thing we start with, right? What the users want, and that we're building a product that will delight our customers and our users. So from that, you can say, okay, what are the most maybe profitable areas to go into? What do the unit economics look like? How do you penetrate the market? Is it going to be like a small business, or is it going to be like a startup, like a mega growing fast enterprise, right? So then, getting those things first, then that determines what you call feasibility study. That determines what you go into. Yeah, obviously, having a good expertise in that area doesn't help. Sorry, it doesn't hurt, right? It helps a lot.
Okay.
Right.
Okay. So it's important for us going into business. You must really do a kind of feasibility, confirm that there's customer needs for it. I mean, there's there are people panting to get what you are producing. I mean, there's like you said, if you give a very, very thirsty man a glass of water.
Agreed. Or think of it like somebody's head is literally on fire, and you say, "Oh, do you want water to put that out?" They say, "Yes, please." Right? That's the kind of business you want to start.
Okay. So for our viewers out there, because I mean, there's a lot of unemployment in Nigeria. So having ideas, learning from those that have seen it, done it, I believe is a good way to start. So talk about business philosophy, and you appear to be very customer centric.
Correct.
I mean, who are your role models in this area?
Beyond any other role model when it comes to business, mine is Warren Buffett.
Warren Buffett.
Yes. So I believe more than any other thing he gets credit for. Yes, his investing acumen is unrivaled and all of that. But you see, at the core of Buffett's philosophy, of his way of doing business, at the core is very customer obsessed, right? That is what drives, Berkshire's, Hathaway's success in everything they do, is that customer obsession. I believe if you give your customer what they want, what they really need, right, and you are at the forefront of innovation, customer service, like, they will be happy and delighted with you. They will refer you to their people, to other customers. They will remain with you for a very long time. They will not be like fleeting customers that are chasing the next shiny toy, right? So being customer obsessed, I think it's a thing that Warren Buffett has always taught. I've read all his annual letters. I've read pretty much everything he's ever written, right? So yeah, I think he's my number one role model. Okay. Then Jeff Bezos is another one, Jeff. Right? More than anything else, I think his belief in remaining on the zero mentality, right? Because so long you remain in that mentality, so long you know your customers can leave you, so long you know that if you are not at the forefront of innovation and service, that you'll be left behind, you will do good in business. The day you become complacent, the day you start looking like, oh, we've achieved so much, we've done so much, we can now rest, we can now take a breath, that's the day your debt starts. Okay. Gradually, but that's the day your debt starts, right? So maintaining that day zero mentality, knowing like you can never rest, knowing that you always have to be the best, you always have to give the best service, okay, right? Coupled with customer obsession, I believe those two are like winning formulas.
Yes. Who said it? I think Andy Grove said only the paranoid survive. And I think Bill Gates also said that success is a lousy teacher. Yes. So you cannot rest on your laurels. And these people have sustained their success over.
Correct.
Buffett has sustained his success for more than 30 years, or not for more than 40 years. Same thing with the Jeff Bezos. His philosophy is always number one. Just do as if you are, being there. And all right, so I want to, assuming that you are going to business for the very first time, what would you do differently?
Assuming I'm going into business for the very first time today,
yes,
what would I do differently? In another line of work or in our line of work?
Whatever, you are doing business, you are going to business for the very first time, knowing what you know, what would you do differently?
What would I do differently? I think more than anything, I think internal team dynamics play a very important role, right? So when startups start growing, they hire too fast, right? And that means you start like losing that personal touch, right? So if you can maintaining that as long as possible would be something I would do differently. Choosing the right investors and the right people that back you, so you can focus on growing and not so much on politics, right? When politics infect business, it starts dying a gradual death, right? So starting a business today, I think those will be the key things to focus on, making sure that that team dynamics, that passion it's there even as you scale. So make each sub-team almost like a startup of its own self. So that coherence, that vision, that drive is there, so they don't get complacent and think, oh, we're big now, we're succeeding, we're getting these millions of customers, we can rest now, So so just always just being customer obsessed, whatever field you are in, and maintaining that day zero mentality.
Okay.
I think it will help.
That is what you are saying, that even you are starting anew, customer is number one.
Always, every day.
Okay, so
that's the reason why you're there.
Right. So your business, you are into. Are you into any forms of corporate social responsibility? I mean, are you taking corporate social responsibilities? Can you share with us?
Oh yeah, so a lot of the things we do, both at Indigenous and at CRIB, is for Indigenous, for example, we help build maybe roads in communities that before do not have access to roads. We help them with these kind of constructions. We've done a lot of work from Akwa Ibom State to Delta to other regions of the world. At CRIB, we have also during the pandemic, we helped a lot with distributing masks to millions of masks to millions of people around the globe, right? So that is a huge thing we've done as part of our corporate social responsibility. At CribMD, we give healthcare to the underprivileged, at nearly zero cost, right? So from medications to maternal child care, education, and a lot of these things, because we believe when we win, everybody wins, right? So from a percentage of our profits, we use it and we give back to the communities we serve, those that are most underprivileged and cannot otherwise afford the services.
Okay. And I was just looking at technology. Technology has allowed us to leapfrog, for instance, in this GSM whatever, making, do you understand? Nigeria, less than 10% of the population had access to telephone.
Correct.
Until GSM technology just came in, and today almost everybody in Nigeria has phone. Almost.
Oh yeah.
Okay, not at all. I'm just talking about even smartphones. All right. So how has technology? Can you just share how technology has helped CreeMD and your Indigenous company to scale and reach more customers?
Technology, we will not be what we are. I think for me it's very hard to imagine business before technology, right? So because think of it like you are a barbershop, right? To scale, you have to keep building more barbershops, right? Okay. But with technology, everybody already has the asset. The smartphone is the means of distribution for your product, right? So that's for CribMD, for example, right? So they have it. All they need to do is download your app, and you're automatically there with them, right? So you don't need to go build a shop in every single neighborhood for them to access your service, right? And that gives you a tremendous edge and capital efficiency in being able to scale your business. So if Google was a brick and mortar enterprise, or if Amazon was a brick and mortar enterprise, or Microsoft, they would not have been as successful as they are. So as you can see, before the age of technology, there were fewer billionaires in the world because the old form of business wasn't just conducive to creating those size of massive ventures, right? So beyond technology as a means of distribution, though, technology has also been highly instrumental in being able to help you visualize your business data and performance, and help you make insightful, data-driven decisions. Right, so technology, both whether you are in construction, whether you are in healthcare, or really any field you are in, I think technology has really revolutionized and is heavily embedded in all businesses. And businesses that are not using it today, I don't see how they can retain a competitive edge in the world. Maybe they can, limp on for a while longer, but eventually they'll go the way of the dinosaurs.
Okay. All right, so in summary, let us quickly summarize. According to some statistics, about 65%, some people say up to 65% of Nigerians are people below the age of 25, almost 60.
I believe that. When I was born, the population of the country was 100 million people in my lifetime, and I'm not that old. It's over 200 plus. So yeah, So definitely, that's correct.
I want you to, what would be your advice to the youth? Because a lot of people, they have this mentality, this entitled mentality that it's a government, it's a government. You talk to them, say, no, the government is not doing anything for me, and so on and so forth. Can you advise the youth how to really take their destiny in their own hands and move forward?
I think the right quote to sum that up is, think not of what your government can do for you, but of what you can do for your government, right? You shouldn't depend on, like, yes, the government has certain responsibilities like providing good road or maybe lights,
maybe environment.
yeah, so but ultimately it's private sector that should champion innovation. If you are in your community and you say, oh, the government hasn't done this, the government hasn't done that, therefore you cannot do anything. But you know, what around you needs doing, what around you can you do and scale, how can you help people? If you help people, you know, can they pay for your service? And if they can pay for your service, can that turn into where you can, you know, scale yourself by hiring more people to do that? And can you introduce technology into the equation? Can you, you know, create something out of it, right? You have to think about entrepreneurship, about innovation. And as a technology company, depending on the kind of technology you're building or the kind of company, your market is not limited to Nigeria. You have the whole globe. The world is more interconnected than ever, right? You don't need the Nigerian government before you can survive or live. Just think of creating something that serves the need of the people, either in Nigeria or abroad, and build it, right? So go into entrepreneurship, don't wait for the government. I'm sure the government has many things to do, and eventually they might come to your side of the neighborhood, but until then, are you just going to stay at home?
Okay. So you're really recommending that people should be entrepreneurial minded?
There's no other way.
Okay. All right, so you were nominated for Forbes Global 30 Under 30.
Correct.
And for exceptional contribution to healthcare innovation and access. Can you shed more light on this recognition?
Well, so as you know, the Forbes 30 Under 30 is a recognition for those pioneering extraordinary innovations or having outsized achievement or contribution to the human condition, right? So that's where my sector is. Some are in, you know, mechanics, some are in philanthropy. So it depends whatever you're doing, but the honor is really a recognition of those achieving outsized impact to the human condition, right? So that's basically it.
Okay. So definitely you're a successful person. So how do you define success?
I define success by, you're successful if by living you've been able to impact other people and make life better for others.
Okay.
That is, for me, the only definition of success that matters.
So impact.
Correct.
Ability to impact others,
Yes.
make the world a better place.
Yes.
Leave the world better than you found it.
Oh yes.
And then if you do that, some monetary benefits can come to you.
Oh yeah, so long you do, you are solving problem for people, the world will always recognize you, the world will always reward you, or the universe, will reward you, right? So long profit, like, don't put profit first, think of impact, think of what you can do to make life better and solve problems for the masses. If you do that, everything else will, you know, fall into place. I believe it's the Bible that says something about seek the kingdom of God first, and you know, everything else will come into place.
You know, Peter Diamandis, he has written 2 books, not even 2, 3. One of them is called Abundance, and the other one is called Bold. And he says something very pertinent. He said, if you want to become a billionaire, try to impact 1 billion people.
Oh yes.
That's Peter Diamandis, and it's a very, very important philosophy. Okay, according to statistics, about 80% of businesses fail before their 5th year anniversary. And what, in your opinion, are the primary ingredients for business success?
Traction.
Traction?
So if you build something people want and you keep growing and keep innovating, I do not see how you can fail, because you can always get more funding, you are always getting more revenue, you're always getting more customers, you're always innovating, you're always the best, right? So if you start with the first principle, building something people want and love, right? I think your success is more or less guaranteed, so long there is harmony within the team and harmony with your investors, right? If you start by building something people don't really need or people cannot really afford, or it's more like maybe the day I am feeling the best I may patronize you, right? Then you sort of laid a foundation for something that's not sustainable and that will die before that 50th anniversary. So in other words, they're telling you if you build something people don't want, 80% of the time or 100% of the time you will fail, and it's those that build something people want at the 20% that survive, right? So just start from starting an enterprise that provides a service or a need that people really need.
Just one more thing you would like to tell our viewers out there, what would it be?
Try to impact as much people as you can with your work, with your life. Remember, life is about leaving a legacy for those that come after you. You met the planet because those that came before you took care of it to this point, right? And they tried to do the best they can, right? So in similar fashion, you must try to do the best you can for the generations that will come after, right? Because if we are conscious about our environment, if we're conscious about what we do, about our impact, then we can truly leave the world, a better place. And not only that, you become richer for it, because if you're doing things that impact people, like my friend Paul was saying earlier, if you want to be a billionaire, impact a billion people. So it's good business doing good.
Thank you so much. So thank you very much, His Royal Highness Ossai Ifeanyi, for sparing time to share your wisdom with experienced annex at very short notice.
It's my pleasure to be here, Paul.
Thank you. And I have been speaking with His Royal Highness Ossai Ifeanyi, the chairman and co-founder of CribMD. In addition to his remarkable professional achievements, His Royal Highness Ambassador Ossai is a dedicated humanitarian, committed to giving back to society and advocating for the underprivileged. His philanthropic endeavors have touched countless lives and inspired many to follow in his footsteps. Until we come your way again, I've been your host, Paul Uduk. Thank you.